Welcome back everyone. From what I can tell, a good amount of the Laker fan base like to see them keep their first round draft pick, which has really caught me a bit off guard, though I'm not entirely against it. At this point, I'm completely open to both options. If they find the right trade, then yeah, I think they should make it, though I don't think they should make a trade purely for the sake of making a trade, especially with there being quite a few good options for them around their draft pick. Now, we don't normally associate the draft with NBA ready talent, but it definitely can happen. I mean, we have been watching a guy like Dereck Lively be a big time difference maker for the Mavericks all year now, although the guy like Ben Shepherd for the Pacers quietly making a difference too. And with that in mind here, you can never completely rule it out, even if that player is a freshman coming out of college like Dereck Lively. Though more often than not, that kind of rookie impact from a non-top 5 draft pick will usually come from a 2 to 4 year college player, much like Ben Shepherd. And in my opinion, that might be the safer route for them to go here. We already talked about guys like Kel'el Ware and Zach Edey, both of which were 2+ year college players. And well, we're gonna stay on that same pathway by reviewing a 3-year college player today, with that being DaRon Holmes, a 3-year college player out of Dayton. But unlike those two, he's kind of been a hybrid big, and in my opinion, you can actually draw a comparison to current playoff standout Naz Reid, with them having a fairly similar game throughout college, although having similar measurements too. And well, if he could turn out to be anything like Naz Reid, I would count that as a win for a mid to late first round draft pick, which is currently where he is being projected to be taken, and that will be well within the Lakers' 17th overall draft pick range, given that they keep it anyways. And if they do, then I think they should take a hard look at DaRon Holmes, a 6'9" power forward center hybrid. Though would he be a better draft pick compared to Kel'el Ware? Well, that'll depend on who you ask, but we're going to compare them as we break down the game of DaRon Holmes. And I think we'll begin by talking about his offensive game, particularly with his ability to generate his own offense, and this would have to be one of his biggest strengths. In fact, he was one of the best big men in college at generating offense. Not only did he put up over 20 points per game, but he did it in a variety of ways, the first of which being his low post scoring ability, where a large majority of his points came from. He got 6 post touches per game, and while he shot a fairly solid 48% on them, the even more impressive part is that he drew a foul in over 34% of them. DaRon Holmes shot nearly 9 free throw attempts per game. Now, he could have been a little bit better at making them, with him shooting a fairly pedestrian 71.3%, but you cannot overlook his ability to get there. Simply put, he was a man amongst boys around the rim. Now, the mid-major conference he played in likely factored into that, but it was still very impressive nonetheless. And compared to Kel'el Ware, who can also be regarded as a good low post scoring threat, I think DaRon Holmes should be given the edge here, and especially if you factor in their entire offensive game. I love that they can both space the floor, but I would probably have to give the edge to Holmes here as well. Now, he might have shot below the 42% that Ware shot from 3, but he did make more than double the amount that he did. Compared to Ware, who made 15 threes at a 42% clip, Holmes made 32 of them at nearly a 39% clip. And all around, I think he has a more fluid shooting motion too, and a bit of a quicker one that kind of reminds me of Naz Reid. Now, not quite to that level, but they have a somewhat comparable shooting motion. And with Naz Reid having shot only 33% from 3 during college, that tells you about how much more time that both DaRon Holmes and Kel'el Ware have to improve. But again, I would have to give the 3-point shooting edge to DaRon Holmes. And not only that, but all around offensive versatility in general. We talked about 3-point shooting and low post scoring ability, but he is one of the very best in the entire draft at getting to the rim. Unlike many of the other bigs in the draft, he has the ability to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim, which is yet another thing that reminds me of Naz Reid. Again, definitely not on the same level, but they are both very aggressive on offense. And when you combine that with him now being a 3-point shooting threat, he is really good at making defenders think, meaning they cannot afford to let him shoot, but they also cannot afford to close out too heavily on him, because when they do that, DaRon Holmes will drive right past them, and then often finish at the rim with a thunderous dunk. And don't get it twisted, that was something he had to learn to do throughout college. He did not have that in the bag during his freshman year. It was something he learned to do over time, and thus making him a more NBA ready prospect compared to many other bigs. The final thing we're talking about here on offense though would have to be pick and roll play, although being a pick and roll lob threat too, both of which he is great at doing. In fact, rolling to the rim was the second most frequent play ran for him per NoCeilingsNBA.com, where he converted 52% of his shots after rolling to the rim. And if you go back and watch the tape, he really has an innate ability on what to do during pick plays. He is great at knowing when to pick and pop rather than roll to the rim, or even when to slip rather than setting a hard screen, really having a great feel for the pick and roll game, aka the most heavily used set in the modern NBA, which he should be able to contribute to on day one. I think I would give Kel'el Ware the edge on being a lob threat, but all-around pick and roll play would definitely have to go to DaRon Holmes. He was simply that good at knowing what to do in every situation. Though I do want to mention one con here with him on offense, with the main one being with him being a bit turnover prone. Now, he did have more assists compared to turnovers, which is obviously a good thing, but he was a bit lackadaisical with the ball at times, averaging about 3 turnovers per 40 minutes. Moving on here though, we should not forget to talk about rebounding before we talk about defense. And while he was a pretty good rebounder throughout college, grabbing about 8 of them in 32 minutes of playing time, I think I would have to give this one to Kel'el Ware. Though Ware did benefit from being around the rim more compared to DaRon Holmes, who again, was kind of a power forward center hybrid. And I think that's a good segue into their defense. I talked about Kel'el Ware having the potential to be a switchable defender, and I think that will be the case for DaRon Holmes too. Now, they both need a bit more work, but they definitely have the athletic ability to achieve it. And between the two of them, DaRon Holmes showed more of it throughout college. Like I referred to before, in addition to playing at center, he played a little bit at power forward as well, and that meant him having to match up with quicker, more perimeter-oriented forwards, which he was able to do. Now, I do think he needs some work at closing out on 3-point shooters, but there's no doubt about his ability to move his feet. Even if we're only talking about him making the occasional switch on defense, I think that he should and will be able to do it. And then when you combine that with his shot blocking ability, that can make him a very versatile defender. I think that both he and Kel'el Ware have a lot of potential on defense, and I do think that Kel'el Ware is a bit more of it, but if we're only talking about what they did in college, then I would have to give the edge to DaRon Holmes. I mean, the guy blocked over 2 shots per game while playing all over the court on defense. Don't get me wrong, they both played quite a bit of drop coverage, but again, DaRon Holmes had to play at power forward as well, which would sometimes take him away from the rim, really making it all that more impressive they blocked over 2 shots per game. And no, he was not simply a shot block hunter, he actually played really good defense, and not only that, but he was very disciplined on defense too, averaging only 2.5 fouls per 40 minutes, which might be the most impressive part about what he did on defense. Whether he plays at power forward or center for a majority of his playing time in the NBA, he is going to be a great help defender. He's super light on his feet for a big, and that allows him to recover quickly around the rim, or even come out of nowhere to block a shot. And overall, I think I would have to give the edge to DaRon Holmes on defense. Finally though, I think we should mention potential when comparing them, and I think this would be the one drawback with DaRon Holmes. I think his ceiling would be a somewhat comparable version of Naz Reid, but then his floor would be a guy like Paul Reed. And no, I'm not just making a Reid comparison here. Again, not bad by any means, but I'm not sure there is star potential here, which you can make a case for Kel'el Ware, though he does happen to be a bit more volatile. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think? If the Lakers keep their 17th overall draft pick, how would you feel about them taking DaRon Holmes with it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. That will do it for this video though. Big thank you to those of you who took the time to watch until the end of this video, and until the end of all of my videos in general. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.